Yes, I did read this earlier this week when they announced it, and I had said that I wasn't going to be talking about it. I didn't want to get myself in trouble. I saw it all night long on the news, on the late night talk shows. I said I wasn't going to be talking about it. People started messaging me, asking me what I thought. My response was I didn't want to talk about it. Then this morning, while I'm eating my heart-healthy Cheerios for breakfast, I look up Good Morning America, and what do I see? John Kent is now bisexual, and people are arguing, so I feel like I should weigh in. So, what are my thoughts on this revelation with Superman now being outed as bisexual? Well, let's talk about it. Before I do, let's talk about John Kent. So, I used to like John Kent back when he was Superboy, when he was just kind of this young, fun character, and then Brian Michael Bendis quickly aged him up from roughly a 13-year-old kid to about a 20-year-old man, and I think that's the age we're dealing with now, and he became a lot less interesting. And then he became the literally worst part of DC Future State. And I pretty much washed my hands of the character. Before he even came out as bisexual, I was already done with John Kent. I think he's uninteresting. I think he's dull. I think his comic is bad. I think he's poorly written. There's nothing I like about John Kent, the current version of John Kent. So then I read that he's come out as bisexual, and I already had those opinions of him. So here we go. Now, they've given John Kent what's kind of starting to become known as the DC character treatment. And the DC character treatment is you take a character who has the mantle of a long-standing character, you flip their sexuality, and you get all over social media, you go viral, you get a lot of news coverage, wash, rinse, and repeat. I mean, we're just a month removed from them doing the same thing with Tim Drake. Now, DC's been doing this for a while. Alan Scott got this treatment a number of years ago when they did the Earth 2, and then they carried it over to the primary established version of Alan Scott that we all already know. And again, he was a heterosexual character who was given a new sexual identity to fit the modern times. And this is something that DC's kind of done, and it started to make me ask the question, is this starting to get a little bit tropey? This seems like maybe something that's happening just to kind of get some social media clicks, get some news coverage, sell a couple single issues of books, wash, rinse, and repeat, like I said. So what really bothers me about that is we have a really good blueprint done many ways on how to bring characters that are different kinds of representation into comics, because I don't think representation or diversity in comics can ever really be a bad thing as long as it's done well. I mean, a healthy comic book industry should reflect the world that we live in, and if it's going to reflect the world that we live in, the characters have to reflect the people that live in our world. So let's look at Midnighter and Apollo. Midnighter and Apollo are, they've been pretty established for a while now. They were created back in the 90s, late 90s, and they are a gay couple who are both Supermans, or superheroes, kind of an allegory for Batman and Superman if they were gay. But rather than just bringing an alternate version of Superman and Batman and making them a couple, we created these two guys, and really, as they've been established, they are very, very different characters. They just kind of have similar motifs and looks. So these two characters were introduced way back in Stormwatch, and then they carried over into a book called The Authority, and they weren't initially established as a gay couple. They were just kind of like a duo of superheroes that stuck together. And then it came out right around the fourth issue of their second book, Authority, that they were actually a gay couple. And it just made sense. The two of them were always together. They were introduced together. They appeared to live together. They were inseparable. So when you found out they were a couple, it just clicked to say, oh, okay, well, that answers a lot of questions. And when you look back at the way the characters have always been written, it made a lot of sense. So... And they've never really been shy about hiding their relationship or the affectionate scenes from the comic readers. And for the most part, fans in general don't have a problem with it. And they're pretty widely liked and enjoyed characters. So, and we've seen other characters. North Star from Alpha Flight was outed as homosexual many, many years ago. In fact, to my knowledge, I think he was the first. And again, he never had... canonically an established relationship. So when he came out and they outed him as gay, it made sense for his character. Now, I will say, when it came to North Star, it really did reshape the way they wrote him. Once he came out, that just kind of took over his character, and a lot of fans didn't like that. It took North Star a while to get away from that. So back to Jonathan Kent. As far as just the move to make him bisexual, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, he doesn't really have, to my knowledge. Again, I've kind of written John off as a character a while back, but to my knowledge, it's not like he has an established canon or history of being anything else. I don't know of him being romantically linked to any character in the past. So if this is a fact that we're learning about him now, it doesn't, at least to my not limited knowledge of the character, it doesn't not make any sense. I think that it was a cheap ploy at clickbait so they can create a bunch of headlines that say Superman is now bisexual, put it on Facebook, and a bunch of people who aren't reading current comic books currently are going to click on it and obviously think they're referring to Clark Kent, John Kent's father. So I think that's a bit of intellectual. I don't know if I want to call it all the way intellectually dishonest, but it is definitely, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing over there. And that's where my problem with this move comes in, is because it doesn't, to me, and I think to a lot of fans out there who don't like this move, it doesn't feel genuine. This doesn't feel like they have organically created something to put something new and something good into the world. This feels like kind of a creatively bankrupt decision by a company that doesn't have ideas it can sell on its own. I mean, it used to be, think of when DC was at its prominence and they could just talk about a storyline that's coming up, or a crossover event that's coming up, or the death of a character that really gets people motivated to come and check it out. Those were story-driven things. And while yes, a character's relationship status is a story-driven element, and comic books have always had a dynamic of who the character's romantic interest is as part of the driving story, that's not generally what they use to drive readership. I mean, I don't remember a Wolverine comic ever being sold as will he or won't he hook up with Psylocke. So whether that relationship is there or not, that's just kind of as flavor to the book. And I kind of look at it as the relationship and kind of the soap opera angles of the comics. That's what kind of keeps the reader coming back month after month or week after week, depending on the comic. And the big overarching storylines, the death of Superman, Nightfall with Batman, the big momentous events, that's what brings readers in for the first time. And because there's reader interest there. But now the event that brings somebody in for the first time is Robin goes on a date with a boy. And I don't know. I don't think that a company that is a wellspring of creativity and great ideas needs to go there to draw on readership. And all it really does, if you look at sales numbers, is it just kind of increases the sales for the one issue where they come out, because you got a lot of people who are going to buy it, hope that someday it's going to appreciate in value, or it's going to be a sought after issue, or it's going to somehow transcend the rest of the series, and this one book will be a gem in their collection for a lot of it. So I don't know. As far as him coming out, I didn't care when I read it. I just kind of shrugged my shoulders. Then it was exploded and was everywhere, and it feels like it was just, in my opinion, a cheap way for DC to get a lot of press. So I may be wrong in that, but that's how it looks. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this whole John Kent bisexual thing? Does it make sense for the character? If somebody out there who knows the character a little bit better and can tell me why it doesn't, I would really appreciate it. Or why it does, I would also appreciate it. What do you think of that in general? And do you think this is actually a legitimately story-driven idea, or do you think this is just something that they've done to, frankly, sell some books and get some press? That's kind of where I stand on it. Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, do all the usual stuff. Hit like, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. I would love to have you here on the channel. The channel's been growing a lot lately. I really, really thank you guys. And I thank you who hung in for the entire video. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.